Let me tell you something that'll make your jaw drop, because when I say this happened right in front of me, I mean a kind of scene that'll stick with you long after the plane lands. It started with the kind of chilling arrogance you only see when someone thinks they'll never get caught. "You don't belong in first class," Karen said, cold as the metal of that torn ticket in her hand. She ripped Michelle's boarding pass in half right there in front of everyone, eyes fixed on her like she was some kind of intruder, never guessing that in just 5 minutes, she'd be the one kicked off the plane, fired in front of the whole cabin, under the merciless gaze of half a dozen phone cameras going live. Yeah, that happened, and what's wild is this wasn't some mix-up. This was the ugly heart of a problem Skywing Airlines had been trying to sweep under the rug for years. See, Michelle Reed wasn't your everyday traveler. Most folks didn't recognize her in a black t-shirt and jeans, hair pulled back, no jewelry, just sneakers and that steady look in her eye. But the woman Karen tried to humiliate wasn't just a passenger. She was Michelle Reed, billionaire, CEO, and the owner of a quarter of Skywing Airlines. Not only does she run the place, she's got a reputation for coming down hard on any kind of injustice, especially the ugly, quiet, kind racism, classism, all of it. And lately, Michelle had been hearing too many stories about her own staff mistreating people of color, brushing off valid tickets, making people feel small because they didn't fit the look. That kind of thing, it kills an airline's soul, and Michelle wasn't about to let her name stand for it. So she did what nobody expected. She bought herself a first-class ticket under her real name, dressed like any regular person, and walked into the airport alone, no fanfare. She could have called a meeting, written a memo, but she wanted to see the truth with her own eyes. She boarded that Chicago-LA flight with one goal: figure out what was really happening when no one thought the boss was watching. The luxury of first class looked just as flawless as the brochure's soft leather seats, gentle lighting, everything gleaming. But she could feel it, like the whole place was wearing a mask. That's when Karen Anderson showed up, head flight attendant, blonde hair tied back tight, uniform spotless, the kind of woman who seemed born to look down on you if she decided you weren't worth her time. She didn't even let Michelle reach her seat. She blocked her, scanned her up and down, and said it loud enough for everyone to hear. First class isn't for people like you. It wasn't just the words, it was the way the cabin went silent, how every head turned, how folks tried to figure out if they were about to see something ugly or just let it slide. Michelle stayed calm. Years in boardrooms had taught her not to flinch, not to show anger, no matter how tight her chest got. "I'm sorry," she asked, giving Karen a chance to take it back. But Karen doubled down. "You know what I mean. First class is for special passengers. You'll be more comfortable in economy." She was putting on a show, trying to humiliate Michelle in front of everyone. Michelle just handed her ticket over real, paid in full, her name right there. Karen didn't even look at it, just tore it in half, the sound of the rip echoing through the cabin. Some passengers gasped, a couple even stood up, like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Then another crew member, Jason Miller, strolled over. Young guy, cocky, smirk on his face. "You really thought jeans and a cheap t-shirt would get you in here?" he mocked. "Next time, at least try to look the part." The two of them, standing there with all the power, clearly enjoying themselves, there was no hiding what this was about. Michelle knew right then. This wasn't a one-off. It was the ugly root of everything she'd heard about Skywing. She took a breath, set her jaw, and decided she'd see this through, no matter the fallout. The whole time, Karen kept grandstanding, making sure the whole cabin heard her accuse Michelle of faking her ticket. "You can't fool us," she said. "This is first class." Jason chimed in with the same venom, making it clear they didn't think Michelle belonged. Michelle calmly pulled out her elite member card, her government. "I'd offer them both." Karen wouldn't even touch them. "I don't need to check. People like you, always trying to get around the rules." That was the nail in the coffin, right there. Michelle asked, one last time, for them to check her credentials. Karen threatened to call security instead. That's when the captain got involved. Brad Collins, gruff, all business, told Michelle flat out, "You're off this plane. No debate, no second look at the facts." Karen was grinning. Jason was folding his arms, as if he'd won something. Within moments, a security officer named Linda Foster showed up. Stern, not here to play games. You have 1 minute to leave, she told Michelle, in front of everyone. Now, here's where things took a turn. A voice trembled from the side. I saw her ticket scan as valid. Please check again. Everyone looked over Emily Turner, the newest flight attendant, standing there shaking but refusing to stay silent. Karen tried to shut her down, threatened her, but Emily held her ground. I saw it. We should check the system again before jumping to conclusions. That tiny act of courage changed everything. A few passengers started nodding. A white woman in the next row, Sarah Johnzona, travel blogger, locked eyes with Emily, pulled out her phone and started recording. Tom Carter, a businessman, did the same. Suddenly, every second was on video. Those videos blew up on social media, hashtags trending, thousands of views, people demanding answers. Still, Karen and Jason thought they had the upper hand. Michelle met the moment without blinking. She called her assistant, Jennifer Lee, on speaker so everyone could hear. Inform the board, she said calmly. Karen laughed it off until Jennifer replied that the board was already watching the viral videos, waiting on Michelle's instructions. Now the panic was obvious. Brad, the captain, realized too late what he'd done. Karen's arrogance melted away. Even Jason, all bravado gone, looked like he might throw up. But Michelle wasn't here for vengeance, she was here for justice. She let Jennifer put the board chair, Michael Harris, on speaker. We confirm your identity, Michelle Reed, CEO. You have full authority. Take decisive action. Michelle turned to the whole cabin and made it plain. No one has the right to let their prejudice override someone's dignity. Anyone involved in this will be terminated immediately. 5 minutes to gather their things. Karen tried to beg. Brad hung his head. Jason just stood there, shaking. Passengers recorded every moment now. The hashtag justice served was everywhere. Emily, still trembling, came forward with a recording she'd made proof that Karen and Jason had plotted to delete Michelle's seat assignment from the system, hoping no one would catch them. She played it for everyone. Just erase her name. People like her don't belong here. The truth was out. No one could deny what had happened. Michelle placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. You did the right thing. Skywing needs people like you. Passengers applauded. Linda Foster, security, apologized for almost making a terrible mistake. Michelle told her, we're always ready to give a second chance to those who do the right thing. Linda nodded, tears in her eyes. Then, Michelle faced everyone and said what needed to be said. I want to apologize for what you've witnessed. Skywing Airlines will not tolerate discrimination ever again. Today we learned every person deserves respect and fair treatment, no matter how they look or what they wear. The cabin erupted in applause. Emily, promoted on the spot, glowed with pride. Even Linda, once stern, nodded in silent promise. Michelle ended it with one last word, not just to the plane, but to the world. True power isn't in titles or uniforms, it's in the courage to do what's right. The passengers knew they'd witnessed the turning point, a real leader standing up for justice, not just for herself, but for everyone who's ever been made to feel less. She'd started a revolution right there at 35,000 feet. Now, let me ask you, if you were in Michelle Reed's shoes, would you have done the same? Drop your thoughts below, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and let's keep this conversation about dignity and real justice going.